Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome to the second episode of the Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, The Burnt Toast, and guys, let's get straight into it. So, guys, tonight, Monday Night Raw, we have some highlights here. So, the first highlight we had of the night was Braun Strowman. He got thrown out of the Royal Rumble match at the main event with Brock Lesnar for the Universal title because he went after Baron Corbin after Corbin questioned his fight and after going after Brock Lesnar. So Strowman chased Corbin, and then he ended up breaking the limousine window, which actually turned out to be Mr. McMahon's. So McMahon basically gave him a $100,000 fine. Strowman argued, so Braun Strowman got put out of the Universal title match, and he ended up flipping a limo in frustration, and he is no longer in the title match. God, man, why? Am I already out of breath? But anyway, then in the main event, we did have a fatal four-way match, but we'll get to that later. So next, there was a huge announcement. Alexa Bliss did announce that there will be women's tag team titles coming later in the year. I believe it's going to be decided at the Elimination Chamber. There will be new women's tag team championships, so that's pretty cool. You know, making strides for women in WWE. I think that's really important, and WWE is really making a stride to make it better. Then we also had Bobby Lashley, the Almighty, win the Intercontinental Championship from Dean Ambrose in a triple threat match with Seth Rollins. What happened at the end of the match was Lio Rush. Rollins was going for the curb stomp. Lio Rush pulled the ropes out from under him. Then Bobby Lashley hit an inverted spear, or a great spear. And then you got the 1-2-3 on Dean Ambrose. And Bobby Lashley is your new Intercontinental Champion. Now, I was actually very, very shocked. It comes 2 weeks before the Royal Rumble, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens on that. But moving on, we did have the Fatal 4-Way match. It was Drew McIntyre, John Cena, Finn Balor, and Baron Corbin all vying for the chance to compete against Brock Lesnar in the main event at the Royal Rumble for the WWE Universal Championship. And Finn Balor pinned John Cena 1-2-3, and Finn Balor is your new #1 contender for the Universal Championship. I really, really like this from WWE. Great move by them. Balor is finally getting a fair share, and I think that it's just incredible. So I'm happy for Balor. Hopefully he can win against Lesnar, but I don't think he will because the current plan right now is to have Seth Rollins take on Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 35 for the Universal Championship, so we're going to have to wait and see on that. But Finn Balor's your #1 contender. I'm feeling really, really good about this. I just think it's good, man. I think it's really, really good that Balor is getting a fair share. And, yeah, so that was basically all the highlights from Raw. Personally, this Raw, it was decent. I was shocked that Bobby Lashley won the Intercontinental Championship. I thought they'd give Dean Ambrose a good run, but hopefully Dean Ambrose could be in the Royal Rumble. And, I mean, I don't know. They could have Rollins win it, or they could have possibly Ambrose win it, then Rollins win something at the Royal Rumble. So, I mean, at the Elimination Chamber. So, it could be very interesting there. But that is your Raw review. And honestly, this week was pretty good. I do have to say, WWE shocked a lot of us with Bobby Lashley winning the Intercontinental title from Dean Ambrose, and also Strowman getting kicked out of the Royal Rumble main event. So, I think that's really, really good. And I just think this week's show was definitely an upgrade from last week's, and it was more interesting to watch, and that's what WWE needs to do. Maybe they're going in the right direction. So the main story we have here is, why was Braun Strowman removed from the Universal title match? Well, there is a report backstage that Strowman has been removed because the plan has been Finn Balor versus Lesnar since Crown Jewel, when Lesnar did win the Universal title against Braun Strowman in a squash match, and the plan was to always have Balor Lesnar, and since Crown Jewel, and since Strowman was coming off yet another defeat to Brock Lesnar, Vince McMahon really wanted Strowman to kind of cool down, let him chill for a little bit, rather than suffer another bad loss to Lesnar, which would definitely hurt his momentum. So I think that's very, very smart by Vince. He doesn't want to kill off his superstars, and that's very smart in my opinion. Good move by Vince McMahon. And now one of the plans for WrestleMania has been Rollins taking on Lesnar for the Universal title in the main event. And they hyped, the reason why Strowman's taken out now is because they hyped up Strowman versus Lesnar to put butts in seats essentially. And, I think it's a good marketing tool for WWE to do that. But now the main event is changed, so maybe people will, I think they'll still watch, but they really want to sell tickets with that, and that's a good marketing plan. And Lesnar was actually scheduled to face Balor at the Royal Rumble 2018, but it was nixed by Vince because he thought that Balor wasn't over enough. And Strowman has not been medically cleared to wrestle yet, and his status is unknown for the Royal Rumble. So honestly, this whole story, it's kind of weird. I did not expect them to pull the plug on the main event for the Universal title. That definitely switches up my predictions now. But I think Lesnar is going to walk out with the title now, considering that they're not going to hand it off to Balor. I don't want Balor to be a transitional champion. That would be a bad move for him. Honestly, I would just let Brock Lesnar stay champion until WrestleMania, have Seth Rollins dethrone him, and then we can start the summer of Rollins. And honestly, I think that would be really, really good. So overall, I think this is a smart move by WWE. Let Strowman cool down. Let him, cool off a bit. Maybe he will get a title shot probably in the near future, so we're going to have to wait and see. Overall, though, it was the right move for WWE, in my opinion. And that's just it. I think it was just the right move. And good job on their part to kind of cool off Braun Strowman a bit. And then maybe back later this year, they could give him his momentum back. Now, the next big story that actually came out was that Raw, they did draw their best viewership in months. Last week's edition of Monday Night Raw had 2.722 million viewers, and it's been the most since the September 10th episode of Raw, which gained 2.74 million. And the show's ratings are up 17% compared to last week's show, and they're actually ranked number 1 in the 18 to 49 cable demographic, which is the first time since August 27th that they've been ranked number 1. And they also will rank number 2 in terms of cable TV viewership. And honestly, this means WWE's doing a great thing. And now, actually, last week's Raw was 2.3 million viewers. And this really shows that WWE, they're making the right moves. They're making the right moves. They're making the show interesting again. And honestly, I think it's great. I think WWE, they're going to be making some big moves. And they're making some big power moves. And I just like the way Raw's going. It's definitely going in the right direction, especially with this ratings. It could give WWE the little kick in the rear end they've needed for the past 2 years. And maybe Raw can get back on the right foot again. And this is definitely a good start. I'm not going to lie. This is definitely the start WWE needs. And hopefully with the McMahons running things now, there should be great matches, new faces, all that. And this is really, really good. I like this. So, our next story, we're going actually really quick here. The Wrestling Podcast is going to be a bit shorter than the sports podcast. But in an interview with the WINCLY podcast, which is the Wrestling In podcast, the former WCW champion DDP did talk about AEW, and he also talked about Cody Rhodes and Dusty Rhodes, and he talked about Cody Rhodes starting up AEW, and he said that it was the closest thing that the wrestling has gotten since the Monday Night Wars back in the late 90s, which was between WCW and WWF. He does say it's effing amazing, and that he is going to put an interview out with Cody very, very soon. And Paige was also at All In to support Cody, and he said the energy was insane in the arena. And now Paige did also state that he's like a proud uncle to Cody Rhodes, and that he's very, very proud of what he's been doing in the wrestling business. Honestly, I fully agree with Diamond Dallas Page. The things that Cody has been able to do since getting released by the WWE, he really has, made great steps towards being relevant in wrestling, and he is a great wrestler. WWE is right now, they shot themselves in the foot when they did release Cody Rhodes. So looking at it, Cody Rhodes, the guy is incredible. He is doing so much stuff outside of WWE. He is really showing that, yes, you can be successful outside of WWE. You can have a great career. You don't need to be in the WWE. And WWE is not the be-all and end-all for all superstars. Now, yes, it is for guys like Enzo Amore, Emma, etc., etc. But Cody Rhodes is kind of, he's kind of going against the narrative that WWE is basically the be-all and end-all for superstars. And I love that he's doing this. I love that he's starting up All Elite Wrestling as well. I think it could be close to the Monday Night Wars because of the talent that they've signed, and also they have great leadership in terms of Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and also Brandy Rhodes. They're definitely in the right direction. I like how this company is going, and hopefully, just hopefully, that they can book correctly. We could have another Monday Night Wars on our hands coming out very, very soon, because I believe they're hosting their first pay-per-view. I don't know the dates, but it is Double or Nothing, so we're going to have to see on that. We're going to have to really see in this first show. It will be real telling on what this company is capable of, and just like people say, you don't get a second chance to make your first impression, so this really counts for AEW right now. If they can make a good first impression on the wrestling business, we could be heading in the right direction come mid to late 2019, possibly even early 2020. We could have another Monday Night Wars on our hands, so it could be very interesting. Honestly, I'm feeling good about Cody Rhodes and what he's been able to do, and what just AEW is under great control. So hopefully all goes as planned, and hopefully AEW is what they're hyping it up to be. Now, we have an update next on Lars Sullivan. Now, I did report last week in a video that Lars Sullivan has suffered an anxiety attack at WWE shows for his debut. That's why he hasn't debuted yet. He was actually scheduled to wrestle in dark matches on Raw and SmackDown, but he suffered anxiety attacks, and he did not show up in the arena, and he flew home last week. So that's been a big talking point in the wrestling community. And now it is being reported that Lars Sullivan, yes, he still is under contract with WWE. Now, I'll go over all the details right now. After reports of anxiety attacks and no shows last week, Lars Sullivan is still under contract with the WWE. Lars was not backstage, however, for Raw last night. And I did mention in my video last week, this is the worst possible case scenario they could have with Lars Sullivan, because he is a great wrestler. He's the body type that Vince likes. Yet, he suffered an anxiety attack. Mental health issues are really serious. Hopefully, he gets the help he needs. But, I mean, hopefully he is taking the right steps. And we could see him on Raw in the next couple weeks. And I'm actually really excited. And also, I believe we had some debuts. Nikki Cross did debut last night. Heavy Machinery did debut. Well, not debut, but they came out for the moment of bliss. And I don't know what the hell was happening there. But, back to it. I don't know what was happening, but they did debut. Also, Nikki Cross debuted in a tag team match with Bayley and Natalya Neidhart, so that's a good step in the right direction. Honestly, I was really high on Nikki Cross. I actually thought she would win the NXT women's title a few times, but she did not. I really thought that she could have won the NXT title, but she did not. But you know what? She's back on the main. She's on the main roster now. I don't know what's going on with Sanity as well, so we're gonna have to wait and see on that. But I like the call-ups. I like Nikki Cross. I like EC3 as well. Vince likes the body type. EC3 has charisma. He has definitely the wrestling skill, and he could be a great star in the WWE. And Derek Bateman didn't work out, but I have a feeling that EC3 will work out. Lacey Evans, don't really know much about her, so I can't really say anything. And Heavy Machinery, it could be... no. Is it the... I think, yeah, it's Heavy Machinery. I thought it was the War Raiders for some reason. But they are facing the Undisputed Era. I talked about it in the first episode of this podcast. But it could be very, very interesting. I'm really interested to see what these guys can do on the main roster. Honestly, if I were to predict who's going to be the most successful out of all these three, it will probably be EC3, because I think Lars Sullivan, the big guy gimmick, I think it's going to wear out a lot for him. It's kind of worn down for Strowman a bit. And honestly, I mean, we're kind of used to seeing this out of Braun Strowman. So, I don't know what's going to happen. I think the big guy gimmick, though, is going to wear out. And I think that EC3 is definitely going to be one to stay because of his wrestling ability and also his body type and his charisma. Just all of his abilities could really keep him in the WWE for the future. And honestly, I'm really liking EC3. I think he's going to be the most successful out of the call-ups, and we're just going to have to wait and see on that. Now, the next thing we have here is actually one of the biggest stories, and it was that Sami Zayn. Yes, Sami Zayn. Excuse me. We do have an update on Sami Zayn's return. Now, WWE did air a vignette in December telling us that basically Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens were both going to return in the near future. No dates were announced for their returns, but Also, I did see another article. Kevin Owens is losing weight, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing for Vince, because I believe one of his biggest problems with WWE was the fact that his weight was pretty huge. But I mean, if Kevin Owens is losing weight, then that's really good. He could come back in the near future. But we do have an update on Sami Zayn. He was seen at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando training for his upcoming return to Raw. He hasn't been in a match, I believe, since June at Money in the Bank against Bobby Lashley, where he fought in a losing effort. And also, there were reports that also Alexa Bliss, Fandango, and Sin Cara were some of the names seen. Also, Eric Rowan, I believe, as well, was at the, Eric Rowan was at the Performance Center. And Alexa Bliss did actually talk about a potential return to the ring 2 days ago in an interview at the Ace Comic-Con in Phoenix, Arizona. She said that WWE were being really, really protective of her because she got concussed, rushed back too early, then she got concussed again. So WWE, I know they really wanted to limit the head injuries. I think that's great. They really want to hold superstars back until they are absolutely 100% ready. I think that's very smart, and especially with the NFL, as big of a concussion problem it is, WWE really does not want concussions on their hands. But they're doing the right thing with Alexa Bliss. They are holding her back. So hopefully she will make a return, because honestly, Bliss is one of the best women in WWE. One of the best women in WWE in terms of her wrestling ability, her charisma, and just everything that she has. I think that and I believe she's still young too, which is pretty incredible. She still is very, very young in the WWE. So it could be very, very interesting. I'm really interested to see Alexa Bliss if she will make a return, and also Sami Zayn as well, because they're both great wrestlers. Alexa hasn't been held back. It's more been Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Sami Zayn, really, he was a great talent coming out of NXT. He was one of the most over guys, but unfortunately he did suffer a shoulder injury, I believe, and he had to get surgery in a match against John Cena and a U.S. Open Challenge. That was like 2 or 3 years ago at this time, or 4 years ago. I don't even know. But yeah, so it could be very interesting. Hoping Sami Zayn can make his return to the ring soon, and also Kevin Owens as well. And just, I'm hoping they can return, and hopefully we can see them, because honestly, they could be two major players in the WWE title picture. Now, the last story I had to talk about here is Jerry Lawler did sign a new deal with the WWE, and it was on his podcast, Dinner with the King, that he did sign a new 2-year deal with the WWE. The former commentator is actually going to commentate at the Men's Royal Rumble match in 2 weeks at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And Jerry Lawler, this is good, because I really, really like Jerry Lawler. One of the best commentators in WWE history. He really knows how to be a heel. I mean, he played that heel role really, really well during the Austin era and McMahon era. He played the heel role incredibly. He embraced it. And I really, really want to see what Jerry Lawler can do. I mean, it could be very interesting. And, yeah, I just like to hear his commentary, you know, especially back in the old days. And, yeah, so that's pretty much it. I really, really did not have a lot of news here. This is probably going to be what the wrestling podcast is going to be. Basically, just this, you know. It's going to be about a 20-minute stream. I did go 40 minutes. You know, usually there's a lot of news, but really we didn't get a lot of news today. So that's why we're kind of short. Coming up short in terms of news. Anyway, though, hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, smack a like. Let's try to smash 5 likes. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did not see my TBT Sportscast video I did yesterday on Kyler Murray declaring for the NFL Draft, as well as Manny Machado having an 8-year deal on the table from the Chicago White Sox, go ahead and check it out. Also, check out episode 1 of The Wrestling Podcast. I did post that up on, I believe, Sunday. But, guys, that is it. Love you all, and I will see you guys tomorrow, hopefully with the 3rd episode of the TBT Sportscast. See you.